Location: FC Barcelona Stadium, Camp Nou in Barcelona. Date: the 3rd of April 2012. The football match between FC Barcelona and AC Milan was nearing an end when a Spanish arrest team made its way to one of the most expensive sections in the stadium, a luxurious VIP skybox. Hours prior to their arrival at the stadium, the team was informed that today would be the day they took down one of the Netherlands' most wanted criminals as part of Operation Tidore, the biggest operation of its kind at that time. That man was none other than Piet Wortel, a man in his 50s of Surinamese descent that was born in the Netherlands. He was wanted for large-scale drug smuggling and money laundering. Piet became a person of interest for Dutch law enforcement after a shipment of 1,100 kilos of coke was intercepted in the port of Rotterdam. It prompted them to set up Operation Tidore to find out who was behind it. Well, after hundreds of hours of investigation, they finally arrested their main suspect. Through all those hours of investigation, law enforcement managed to get a pretty good look inside Piet's rather luxurious and lavish lifestyle. It was all funded by the proceeds of cocaine shipments he smuggled. Shipments from South America to Hong Kong, Cape Verde, Suriname, and the Netherlands. Piet conducted his business all over the world. He sure had fun all over the world too. Together with his associates, he flew in private airplanes, stayed in the most luxurious hotels, spent in excess of €100,000 in one shopping trip, and attended the best sports events. One of those events was the World Cup final in 2010 between the Netherlands and Spain. After the match was finished, Piet stumbled upon none other than the Dutch Crown Prince, now King, Willem-Alexander, and his then Crown Princess and now Queen Maxima. The King and Queen kindly took the picture, not having a clue who they'd just been photographed with, a criminal kingpin and a bunch of his associates. At the time this picture was taken, Piet was already being watched by Dutch law enforcement. That only made this picture more painful. Afterwards, he gladly showed the picture to his criminal acquaintances and laughed about it. Could I ask you a tiny favour? I've recently started this channel and would love to keep making these videos for you all to watch. If you could please leave a like, a comment and subscribe, that would help me immensely on this journey. Thanks. Let's get back to the story. After his arrest in Barcelona, Piet was extradited to the Netherlands. After 2 years of trials, he was sentenced to 7 years in prison for large-scale drug smuggling and money laundering in 2014. Mr. Wortel has stood at the helm of an enormous cocaine syndicate for many years. As a true multinational, this syndicate operated worldwide, smuggling cocaine from South America right into the streets of Europe and beyond. The leaders stayed far away from the product they were trading and directed parties around the world from a great distance, one of the public prosecutors said after the verdict. Due to his good behaviour, he was granted an early release with an ankle monitor in 2016, having served 4 years from the 7 he was supposed to. Though instead of abiding by the rules, Piet decided to cut his ankle monitor off and flee to Suriname. He was now officially on the run, and it remained quiet around him for some years. Piet Wortel, 400 kilos ready to go from Suriname to Rotterdam. All set, be ready. Anonymous, on standby, ready to go. Keep us updated. It was July 2019 when Piet allegedly orchestrated a new shipment from his hideout somewhere in Suriname. 400 kilos of coke, hidden between legitimate cargo, shipped across a route that he had used many times prior. It was supposed to be business as usual, but that would not be the case. Pay very close attention to the following. To extract the kilos from the container once arrived in Rotterdam, Piet had recruited Romeo D, Kelvin M, Ganciel F, and Roy H. Sometime after the container set sail for Suriname, it finally arrived at the port of Rotterdam. Piet Wortel, go time. It's here. Get all the men ready and take it out now. Anonymous, we're on it. Stay in touch. That was another successful shipment in the books, or at least so it seemed. Anonymous, the shipment is seized. We can't get to the coke. The shipment failed, boss. It's not rare that a shipment fails and gets seized by customs. It's part of the game, and Piet knew this like none other, the veteran he was. Sometimes you have to take your losses and move on to the next. But then it turned out that Romeo, Kelvin, Ganciel and Roy suddenly had a lot of money to spend. The streets started talking, and rumours started to spread. Was the shipment really seized? Or... The rumours reached Piet, and he started to doubt whether the men spoke the truth or not. After gathering some more information, he knew for sure. He got ripped off. According to rumours, he said, "I will shoot everybody who is involved in this and enjoys the proceeds. Everyone." And then it all went south really fast. Location: Documlan, Almere. Date: the 4th of August 2019. Gensiel F had just been shot at while walking towards his girlfriend's house. His name should ring a bell if you have paid close attention. He was one of the men assigned by Piet to get the drugs out of the port. All 3 shots hit him, but as somewhat of a miracle, Gensiel managed to survive the attack. He most likely realized where this came from and recognized that the threat on his life was still there, since the job was not finished. Gensiel decided to flee to Curaçao in the hopes of being safe. In Curaçao, he remained under the radar. He was rarely out in the open, disguised himself as much as possible, but somehow, some way, the people he tried to avoid still found him. A month after the first attack, at around 10 in the morning on the 2nd of September 2019, Gensiel travelled in the back of a white Hyundai. The driver stopped in front of a local restaurant and got out of the car. As soon as he closed his door, 2 armed men ran up to the car and started firing right through the back window where Gensiel was sat. There was no way out anymore. He used all of his luck during the first attack, and this time he succumbed to his injuries then and there. That's 1 out of 4 gone. Location: Suriname. Date: the 17th of September 2019. Police officers had just received a report about a burning car and travelled to the scene. After examining the vehicle, they managed to recover fragments of the car's license plate. Following an investigation, they contacted the car's owner, summoning him to the police station. The next day, Roy H's older brother appeared, explaining that he had lent Roy the car 2 days earlier and had not heard from him since. Roy H was also one of the men tasked with getting the coke out of the port of Rotterdam, remember? Roy's older brother reported that communication ceased around the time the burned car was discovered, which was worrisome. At the police station, he immediately filed a missing person report for Roy. A few days later, the Suriname police received yet another missing person report. This time, the family of Romeo informed them that Romeo had been missing since September 17, which was out of character for him. Romeo was also supposed to help retrieve the cocaine in Rotterdam. In a statement, the police suggested a possible connection between the 2 cases. Both Roy and Romeo had been in the Netherlands the week before they disappeared and had returned to Suriname together. Roy's family, however, claimed they did not know Romeo and questioned any link between the 2 men. I think it's all starting to make sense, right? That's 3 out of the 4 men gone. Stay with me because besides Gensiel, Roy and Romeo, we still have Kelvin M who was involved. Don't think he got let off easy. Not at all. Location: Amsterdam, Southeast, the Netherlands. Date: 18th of September 2019 at around 20:35 p.m. Kelvin M was sat in his car in front of a red light. He had just left some friends he met up with. What he seemingly was not aware of was that as soon as he left, he was followed by 2 men on a motorbike. Patiently, they had waited for the right moment. Then, when Kelvin stood in front of the red light, they struck. Multiple bullets were fired, and despite being hurt, Kelvin managed to hit the gas and drove off. He ultimately crashed into a fire department. The firemen on site did their best to help Kelvin, but it was already too late. That marked number 4 out of 4. Gensiel, Roy, Romeo, and now Kelvin. All 4 men who were believed to be involved in the theft of the 400 kilos were now killed within a few months. What does that tell you? Was this a well-orchestrated cleanup? Or coincidence? Let's say it was all rather suspicious. Despite the ongoing turmoil and incidents in the Netherlands, business continued as usual for Piet. In late April 2020, a large shipment of 4,100 kilos concealed among fish, valued at over 200 million euros on the street, arrived at the port of Antwerp. It was transported to a warehouse after its arrival. What the men did not know was that the Belgian Federal Police were already aware of the shipment. They orchestrated an operation to apprehend those involved. As soon as the men got to taking out the coke from in between the fish, police officers came barging in. 9 men were caught in the act. Additional arrests were made in the city of Antwerp. Most of the men were from southeast Amsterdam, and further investigation suggested that none other than Piet Wortel and Jos Leidekers were involved in this shipment. Following the chaos in Amsterdam over the missing 400-kilo shipment, Dutch police anticipated another wave of incidents, given that this shipment was 10 times larger. However, rather surprisingly, things remained relatively quiet, most likely because there was not any foul play suspected in this case. The police just outsmarted them. It remained quiet around Piet for some time until the end of February 2022. The FAST-NL team, which stands for Fugitive Active Search Team Netherlands, received a tip that Piet was travelling to Aruba. On March 3, 2022, Piet indeed flew from Suriname to Aruba. Upon landing, he was immediately detained by the Aruban police in collaboration with the FAST-NL team. He was extradited to the Netherlands quickly after his arrest. End of story for a while, you'd think. But then on the 11th of October 2022, Dutch newspapers reported rather surprising news. Piet had been arrested at a home in Almere. After his extradition from Aruba, Piet had served some time in the Netherlands and was released on parole with an ankle monitor. Early that morning, police conducted raids on 7 homes, a hotel room and an office across 4 different cities. These locations were thoroughly searched for potential evidence. Piet was arrested on suspicion of drug smuggling and possible involvement in the murders of Gensiel F. and Kelvin M. It's safe to say that thus far this story has been quite chaotic already. But would you believe it if I said that it could even get more chaotic? Stay focused. Think about this for a second. What do a Champions League football player and a convicted drug smuggler have in common? Not an awful lot, you would probably say. Well, what if I told you they were colleagues? Let me explain. Dutch football player Quincy Promes has been a prime suspect in a drug smuggling case ever since Dutch police received anonymous tips in 2018 and 2019. Under the codename Porto, investigations led to a link between Quincy and Piet. In January 2023, prosecutors claimed that Quincy paid a fine of €250,000 to Piet for his role in the stolen shipment of 400 kilos. This payment was allegedly made to settle Quincy's debt with Piet, according to the police's team Criminal Intelligence. Quincy has consistently denied these accusations and expressed shock at the prosecutor's claims, calling them absolute nonsense. His lawyer, Robert Malewitz, stated, "My client does not even know Mr. Wortel. They have never had any contact or communication with each other." Piet Wortel also denied knowing Quincy, despite having his phone number, insisting that there had never been any contact between them. Odd to say the least. Prosecutors have long considered Piet Wortel a major figure in the smuggling world. However, following his arrest in October 2022, they struggled to prosecute him for any crimes or link him directly to the incidents involving the stolen shipment and the 4 men. Piet's lawyer argued for his innocence, and Piet himself claimed he had been unjustly imprisoned for months and should have been released. In mid-March, his lawyer demanded his immediate release and succeeded, with Piet scheduled to be freed on March 29, 2023. However, before he could leave prison, he was rearrested on a new charge, money laundering. Between January 1, 2018 and October 10, 2022, Piet allegedly laundered millions in criminal proceeds. This move seemed designed to prevent Piet from becoming a free man and potentially fleeing the country. It also allowed prosecutors more time to gather new evidence against him. Come July 2023, a story surfaced that Piet had millions worth of gold in his Surinamese villa, based on several photographs. A raid took place, but police believe Piet was tipped off before it took place and removed the bars. Piet in his turn said he had some gold at his home, but claimed he had to sell the gold for the Vice President of Suriname, Ronnie Brunswijk, and that none of it was his. During the raid, confidential documents were also discovered. Surinamese police fear they have a mole within their ranks, which seems plausible and exemplifies Piet's influence. As of June 2024, Romeo and Roy remain missing. With nearly 85% of Suriname covered in tropical forest, making someone disappear is not difficult. Piet has lived a tumultuous life and was close to being released, but for now, he remains behind bars. Dutch prosecutors are working hard to keep him incarcerated, though the situation appears more favourable for Piet than for the prosecutors at this time.